The greater the risk, the greater the reward. And one of the riskiest things in backyard wrestling has always been the flippy dippy shit. Sometimes it's spectacular, sometimes it's death-defying, and sometimes it's a close call. These are some of the craziest high-flying spots we ever did.
Oh, he missed him.
So in this spot, Poe basically Irish whips Kid Crush off the roof of this little gazebo thing. He swanton bombs Soldier Fat on the way down. That's in and of itself pretty crazy, but let's take a look at the landing here. As he's coming down, you know, he's getting him with his shoulders, the back of his neck. He's not landing with all his weight on Soldier Fat. He's landing as safely as possible to make sure he doesn't kill the guy. But when he comes down on this landing, take a look over here. He gets his feet down to try to break his fall because this ground is incredibly hard. In fact, if we come forward just another inch here, that's his tailbone coming down on this hard ground. How he didn't break his tailbone, I'll never know. Because I've had people bruise their tailbones falling on this ground and they weren't coming off the roof like that. So that's all him using his feet to break his fall as much as possible because he's coming down right on his tailbone on that ground.
Going back to hell! Hell judgment! Do it! Oh!
Things don't have to be flippy dippy for them to be spectacular. The Grim splash here is so pretty. If we watch here, the Grim comes up and he gets his body completely flat. Like his legs aren't down, his arms aren't down, he's completely flat. If we look down here, Kid Crush is also blowing out. He's exhaling all the wind from his lungs. That way, he doesn't get the wind knocked out of him when the Grim is going to make impact. And then as we come down here, the Grim does get his arms down so that way he can create a pocket so he's not crushing Kid Crush on the way down, and he can kind of cushion his fall and his landing here. But then he lands perfectly flat. He lands perfectly flat. He doesn't have his legs down. He's not afraid to do the move. There's no flippy dippy in this at all, but it's so pretty because of how graceful it is.
Going back to hell! Hell judgment! Do it! Oh! For now!
So we have this ladder moonsault from Kid Crush, which is just incredible and beautiful and spectacular. He's got the ladder in the corner like this, making a little ramp. He's got C Mike down at the bottom. And if we watch when he does this moonsault, he's going to come back and he's going to grab the ladder with both of his hands. That way he can post off of it. He can control himself. He can make sure he's not veering to the left or the right. He can make sure he stays on target. And then as he comes down, he's also using his arms to slow his descent a little so he's not crushing C Mike. C Mike is also going to get an arm up so he can cushion this impact, make sure he doesn't get crushed under here. And then as soon as Kid Crush hits, he's going to push off of that ladder and get out of the way so C Mike can sell. But this is just goddamn beautiful.
Nappy's down, Evan's down. Who's Craven aiming at? Probably the closest to him. Swanton bomb!
With a leg to the chest of Evan.
Everybody's down.
Everyone's down.
So the big problem with this spot is the ladder popped out from underneath me as I'm trying to flip. If we look here, the ladder's not evenly spaced. It's at an angle a bit because you're only meant to climb up one side. You're meant to climb up this side. But the ladder was already in position from a previous spot, and I didn't want to spin the ladder around just to come up and do this spot. I thought it would make more sense to just climb up and jump. But because of that, because there's no leverage on this side, as I'm trying to flip, that energy is getting transferred to the ladder, and the ladder is going to tip over. If the ladder was flipped the other way, since there's more leverage on this side, it probably wouldn't have tipped over, and then I'd probably be able to flip all the way. But as it is, I push off this ladder, and because of physics, that kinetic energy that I'm using to push myself through this flip is getting transferred to the ladder and knocking the ladder over. So now I don't have enough momentum to flip all the way through here. So right about here, I start to fall and I realize I'm not going to make it. So I'm getting an arm down. The idea is if I can get my shoulder underneath me, I can shoulder roll through this and protect myself. Evan already knows, oh, that's not going as planned, and gets his hand up because he knows I'm not in control anymore. He doesn't know how I'm going to land. I don't know how I'm going to land. So he's trying to protect himself as much as possible. And then I do manage to get my shoulder underneath me. I do manage to roll through this. But then Evan just kind of gets like the side of my hip and my leg and my shoe, and he got messed up. I'm okay, but I know it's a botch, so I'm selling it so we can play it off. Evan got the worst of that, so he's gonna roll out of the way here. If I would have had the ladder facing the other way, this would have gone completely differently.
Nappy's down, Evan's down. Who's Craven aiming at? Probably the closest to him. Swanton bomb!
With a leg to the chest of Evan. I can't believe you even did that shit.
6, 5, shooting for the press!
Got that shit
4,
good.
3, 2, crazy end wins! Woo!
So this was the finish to the main event of the last PWL match ever. And Nappy and Kid Crush wanted to go out with a bang because we didn't know what the next chapter was going to be. We didn't know, is there going to be another federation after this? Are we going to have more matches, or is this it? Are we done? And so they wanted to pull out all the stops and make sure that if this was the end of the road, that they went out with a bang. And so everyone's counting down because this was a 2 out of 3 falls match, and the third fall was an Iron Man match. And so there's about 10 seconds left when he climbs up on the roof here. So he doesn't have time to think. He doesn't have time to second guess himself. By the time he makes it to the roof, there's 5 seconds left in the match. He just has to go. So he's going to push off, and he's going to do this shooting star press off the roof. But if we watch when he comes down, Nappy's too close, and Kid Crush's shin gets him in the mouth. So his shin completely hits him in the face, and if we come down here, Kid Crush's face hits the ground. He lands face first on the ground with his shin hitting Nappy in the mouth. But there's 3 seconds left in the match, so he doesn't have time to worry about that. He just has to go for the cover and get the match over with. But if we listen, after the match, we can even hear him say, "My face hit the ground."
Hold on. My face hit the ground.
But here's how good Kid Crush was. He had 5 seconds to do a move he had never done before, and he managed to pull it off. I mean, kind of. He didn't land the way he wanted to, but close enough.
6, 5, shooting for the press!
Got that shit
4,
good.
3, 2, crazy end wins! Woo! Crazy end wins! With the shooting star press, Nappy has lost the world title!
My face hit the ground.
I've always been a sucker for high flying, but any one of these spots could have gone completely differently, and any one of us could have been seriously injured. So if you're going to climb up to that top rope, make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure you have a plan in place. Make sure you're able to protect yourself and protect your opponent, because backyard wrestling is supposed to be fun, and it's not worth getting seriously injured over some flippy dippy shit.